Meanwhile, there's some breaking update as well coming at this point in time, and we are being told, as far as this entire case is concerned, Home Minister Amit Shah held a meeting on the violence that was reported in Jahangir Puri area of the national capital. He has asked Delhi police to act sternly. Amit Kumar, my colleague, is joining us on the broadcast. More on this. Amit, good evening. आप हमें बताइए कि होम मिनिस्टर की तरफ से क्या डायरेक्शन जो है गया है दिल्ली पुलिस को इस पूरे मामले को लेकर।
पुलिस के अधिकारियों से बातचीत करने के बाद गृह मंत्री ने सख्त निर्देश दिए हैं कि जो हिंसा हुई है उसमें जो भी आरोपी हैं या जो भी दंगाई हैं उनके खिलाफ सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई करें और ऐसी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए कि फिर से दिल्ली में इस तरह की हिंसा या दंगा करने की कोई सोचे भी नहीं। उन्होंने साफ तौर पर कहा कि पुलिस अधिकारियों को कि आपको जो भी करना है, जिस तरह के भी एक्शन लेने हैं वो फॉर्म एक्शन लिया जाए ताकि दिल्ली में दोबारा दंगे नहीं होने चाहिए, क्योंकि 2 साल के भीतर ये दूसरा दंगा हुआ है और इस तरह के दंगों को रोकने के लिए जरूरी है कि पुलिस की तरफ से एक कड़ा संदेश आना चाहिए। जो दंगाई हैं, जो हिंसा करने वाले हैं, उनके खिलाफ सख्त कार्रवाई हो। तो ऐसे में गृह मंत्री अमित शाह ने तमाम पुलिस अधिकारियों को सख्त निर्देश दिए हैं कि जो भी कदम उठाने हो, जो भी एक्शन लेने हो, आप एक्शन लीजिए ताकि दिल्ली में इस तरह की हिंसा दोबारा ना हो। इस तरह की हिंसा को रोकने के लिए सारे जरूरी कदम उठाने चाहिए।
जी अमित, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर द मोमेंट फॉर जॉइनिंग अस विद ऑल ऑफ दोस डिटेल्स। हम फिर से लौटेंगे आपके पास इस पर और ज्यादा जानकारी के लिए। Let's now move on, and we have our guest joining us on Urban Debate to discuss this particular issue. We have Advocate Sanket Gupta, BJP spokesperson, joining us. We are also joined by Akshay Marathe, who is Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson, Harish Shankar Gupta, spokesperson of the Congress Party, is live with us, Shilpi Jain, senior lawyer, live with us, Ellen Rao, former DCP of the National Capital, also with us on the broadcast. Thank you very much. Good evening to all of you for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I want to begin the discussion with you, Advocate Sanket Gupta, because here it is about the law and order situation in the country. In just over 2 years, second time we are getting reports of riots in the national capital, clashes. And this is the national capital that we are talking about, barely 18 kilometers away from the parliament. What does it say about the law and order situation here?
Law and order in the Delhi is completely controlled, but these type of unfortunate incident happened there in Delhi in 2020 also, and now in 2022. And these broke out just on the day on which the Hanuman Jayanti was being celebrated to give it a color of communal violence. And it was a pre-planned strategy as the initial investigation is going on and the things are coming on the social media and through your reports also. It can be clearly said that these are the pre-planned way of doing something to do these type of violence in a national capital of Delhi. But the police is doing fairly in a very right way. 24 persons are arrested till now, and they have lodged an FIR. And Honorable Home Minister has
Advocate Sanket Gupta, that is the reason why I asked you. You are also calling it a pre-planned strategy. So here we are talking about the situation in the national capital. We had no information about something like this in the national capital. What does it say about the law and order situation here? And if this is the situation in Delhi, no wonder what will be happening in other parts of the country.
A situation like this happened in other parts of the countries also. It happened in Rajasthan also. It happened in Madhya Pradesh also. And in Delhi, it is in very controlled way now. But the things are this, ki it just happened at that moment when the Hanuman Jayanti procession was going on, that Shobha Yatra was on the way, and suddenly some persons came and started pelting the stones on that, and started pelting the bottles on that. And this all happened in such a way, police controlled all this violence in such a manner that minimum injury happened at that place. And now after 2 days, also when the police was going to arrest one person, the main accused, the stone was pelted from the other side. I can say that we must work for the peace of our country. We must work for the peace of our state. And this is an unfortunate event, but our Home Minister is taking right decision to control this violence. And this all happened in 2020 when Tahir Hussain was arrested to be the main culprit of this, who was a councillor of Aam Aadmi Party. And this is all a drama which is going on and which is planned in such a way so that a situation, the peaceful situation which is
So
going
it was
on
a
from
pre-planned
7 years
strategy is
in
what the
this
BJP
country.
spokesperson has to say. Here also we are being told case has been registered against the leaders of VHP as well as Bajrang Dal.
Police
Akshay
is
Marathe, the question
police is
is,
fairly doing the work.
you know,
Police is
it
fairly doing
happened
the work.
in the national capital.
Yes, it happened in a national capital, and police is doing its work very fairly, and they have registered a case against the VHP
Advocate
also.
Sanket Gupta, let the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson respond. Akshay Marathe.
Heena, I think it is a matter of great disappointment for all Indians today that our country's ruling party, the BJP, has turned itself into a parking lot for goons and thugs. Last week, the Delhi BJP garlanded, felicitated the goons who went to jail for vandalizing and attacking the residence of the Delhi Chief Minister. What is the message that the youth gets from these kinds of incidents where the BJP is felicitating youth who are running rampage, attacking citizens, provoking riots? The message is that if you engage in these kinds of anti-social activities, the BJP will reward you handsomely and will rise up the ranks very, very fast. That is the reason that the BJP not only defends these people, but also felicitates them and rewards them. Why am I saying this? Because on the day that this Shobha Yatra happened in Jahangir Puri, where the riot and the skirmish broke out, Aam Aadmi Party leaders across the city had also been organizing Shobha Yatras, Sundarkands, and all kinds of programs for Hanuman Jayanti. But not a single incident of violence was reported. Why is it that any kind of violence and mischief breaks out only and only when the BJP and its partner organizations are involved in the organization of these events? It is not merely the fact that the police, which is also run by the BJP in Delhi, is not doing its job well, but it's also the
That's
fact
why
that
there
the
was
BJP
a statement by Aam Aadmi Party CM, and he simply said that I have nothing to do with Delhi. It is the Delhi police responsibility is of BJP.
That wherever the
Is
BJP
this your way of
involved in
doing? You are a
any
CM
kind
and you
of
are saying it is not my responsibility.
the violence breaking out. Let me finish my point, sir. I did not interrupt you. I'm making a very limited point that the BJP needs to introspect today that why is it that the people involved with the BJP, when they organize events in this country, they turn violent, they turn into antisocial elements running amok, and the people, ordinary people, whether they are Hindu or Muslim, have to suffer. Their businesses are shut down. There is Section 144 imposed. Just imagine the kind of disruption to life that the BJP is causing in India
So the Aam
today.
Aadmi Party is holding BJP responsible for what happened. I will get Advocate Sanket Gupta to respond to that. But before that, let me also take the opening comments from Harishankar Gupta, spokesperson of the Congress Party.
I just want to raise one question with Akshay. Who was the conspirator in 2020 riots in Delhi? Tahir Hussain was the corporator of Aam Aadmi Party.
You've made that point.
It was Anurag Thakur. It was Amit Shah. They were the conspirators of the riots. It is very evident.
Okay, gentlemen, 1 second. 1 second, gentlemen. Let's have a civil debate, please. I have given both of you time to make your opening comments. 1 second. I said I will give Advocate Sanket time to respond to what the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson Akshay Marathe had to say on the show. But before that, let's also take the opening comments from other guests who've been patiently waiting for quite some time. Harishankar Gupta, you just heard. So is this tussle that's going on between the BJP and the Congress Party and the Aam Aadmi Party, which is in power in the national capital, responsible for what is happening in Delhi today?
देखिए हिना जी, ये जो डिबेट आप इन लोगों के व्यूज हमने सुने हैं अभी, ये बेमानी है, ये राजनीतिक बात लोग कर रहे हैं। इस समय इस हालात में राजनीतिक पक्षपात करना, राजनीतिक एक दूसरे के ऊपर आरोप लगाना, मैं समझता हूं उचित नहीं है। उसकी वजह ये है कि ये जो राइट्स आज दिल्ली में कम्युनल राइट्स हमें देखने को मिले हैं, मैं पुरानी बात आपको बताना चाहता हूं। कम्युनल राइट्स हिंदुस्तान के अंदर आज का नहीं, सैकड़ों साल का पुराना इतिहास है। लेकिन कम्युनल राइट्स को अगर सरकार का संरक्षण मिल जाएगा, और सरकार के संरक्षण मिलने का मतलब ये है कि सरकार उसको अनदेखा करेगी, तो ऐसे लोगों को मौका मिलता है जो लोग धर्मांध होकर इस तरह की हरकतें करते हैं, और वो जो वायलेंस में जिसका जो कन्वर्ट हो जाती है। आपने वहां पर जो वायलेंस हुआ उसके बारे में हमने पता किया, लेकिन इस बात का भी संज्ञान हमको लेना चाहिए कि जब ये शुरुआत वहां से हुई, बिना परमिशन के जुलूस निकाला गया, ये पुलिस की टोटल फेल्योर है इसके अंदर। उनके पास में इंटेलिजेंस विभाग है जो हर चीज की जानकारी रखता है। हम एक राजनीतिक पार्टी से आते हैं, 4 दिन का धरना भी हमें करना होता है, 40 लोगों का भी, उसके लिए 10 बार पुलिस हमसे पता करती है कि आप धरना क्यों कर रहे हैं, किस बात के लिए कर रहे हैं, कितनी देर के लिए कर रहे हैं, सड़क तो नहीं जाम करेंगे। क्या ये प्रोसेशन निकलने से पहले उनको ये मालूम नहीं था कि जो लोग ये धरना कर रहे हैं उनकी मंशा क्या है? क्या वो प्रोवोकेशन नहीं है? ये प्रोवोकेशन है, एक्शन है और उसका रिएक्शन है। वायलेंस वायलेंस है और मैं तो इसको गैंग वॉर कहूंगा। इसमें धर्म को मानने वाला, चाहे वो राम भक्त हो, चाहे वो अल्लाह को मानने वाला हो, जो सच्चा मानने वाला है, सही मानने वाला है, वो कोई शामिल नहीं है। ये बैड एलिमेंट्स हैं दोनों तरफ से, जिन लोगों ने सुनियोजित तरीके से माहौल बिगाड़ने की कोशिश की है। अब मेरा सरकार से कहना यह है, हमारे बीजेपी के दोस्त भी यहाँ पर बैठे हुए हैं, कांग्रेस की सरकार में भी कभी भी इस बात की इजाजत नहीं होती थी कि कांग्रेस का कोई आदमी, कांग्रेस का कोई एक्टिविस्ट आगे बढ़कर उस सिचुएशन को उसके पक्ष में एक्सप्लेन करे। आज सुबह से डिबेट पर हम लोग हैं। मैं हैरान हूं सुनकर इस बात के लिए कि बीजेपी का स्पोक्स पर्सन जब यहाँ पर बात करता है तो बात बात में ये तो कहता है कि सब गलत हुआ है, लेकिन साथ में एक विशेष धर्म का पक्ष लेकर दूसरे धर्म के ऊपर कटाक्ष भी करने लगता है। लेकिन ये सही नहीं है। जो राजनीतिक दल सरकार में बैठा हुआ है उसकी जिम्मेदारी बन जाती है कि किसी भी तरीके से इस बात को अलाउ ना करे, चाहे वो किसी भी धर्म से संबंध रखता हो। लेकिन ये क्या इस बात के लिए आज चर्चा हम लोग ये लोग अपना व्यूज दे रहे हैं। अब कहीं ना कहीं जब सरकार का संरक्षण ऐसे एलिमेंट्स को लगता है, ऐसा लगता है कि सरकार का हाथ हमारे साथ है, उनका समर्थन हमारे साथ में है, तो वो आगे बढ़कर इस प्रकार की हरकतों में शामिल होते हैं और माहौल खराब होता है। अब आप देखिए, आप वहां पर जो लोग पकड़े गए हैं उनका कैरेक्टर देखिए, उनका हिस्ट्री देखिए, वो बैड एलिमेंट्स हैं, बीसी हैं वो लोग, उनके खिलाफ में कई आपराधिक मामले चल रहे हैं। और जो लोग प्रोसेशन के अंदर भी थे, अगर आप उनकी भी जांच करेंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं आपको ये लगेगा कि वो लोग, देखिए 3 दिन पहले से ये प्लानिंग की गई थी कि हमने प्रोसेशन निकालना, और प्रोसेशन के अंदर 50 लोग अगर हैं तो निकालने वालों को ये पता होता है कि 10 लोग ऐसे मनचले भी हैं जो वायलेंस भी करेंगे, जो कंट्रोल नहीं किए जा सकते, जो गुंडागर्दी भी करेंगे। ऐसे लोगों को काबू ना करके प्रोसेशन निकालना, मैं समझता हूं ये ठीक नहीं है। सरकार की पूरी जिम्मेदारी है। सरकार, अमित शाह जी ने मीटिंग ली, बहुत अच्छी बात है, मैं उनको बधाई देता हूं, लेकिन उन साथ साथ ये इंश्योर करें कि उनकी पार्टी का कोई एक्टिविस्ट इस पूरे वायलेंस को, जो वायलेंस इज वायलेंस, इस पूरे वायलेंस का समर्थन ना करे, उसके पक्ष में एक विशेष धर्म के साथ जुड़कर उसका पक्षपात ना करे। अमित शाह जी इस बात को भी इंश्योर करें।
इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट आपने बताया है हरिशंकर गुप्ता जी, एंड आप जो बात कह रहे हैं वो बिल्कुल सही है। वायलेंस वायलेंस होता है, और तभी आज अर्बन डिबेट पे हमारा जो फोकस है वो दिल्ली का जो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन है उसके ऊपर है। वी वांट टू नो दैट हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल दैट इन द हार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री, इन द नेशनल कैपिटल, something like this can happen, where you have tight security because you have the central government here, you have the Delhi government as well. Mr. L.N. Rao, your former DCP of the National Capital, firstly, I want to understand from you, how do you see the developments that have taken place in the last 48 hours or so in Delhi, and the kind of reports that have come? Do they surprise you? Because you understand how, Delhi's security apparatus is, how it functions. Can a procession be taken out without permission?
Heena ji, this is very serious matter, and we all condemn such type of violence, because in any religion there is no space, no place for any violence, because this violence cannot benefit any public person or any political party, irrespective of any political party, whosoever they are supporting or not supporting that. As the developments have been narrated, Commissioner of Police has clearly stated that they will not spare anyone whosoever is involved in this case, irrespective of any creed, caste or religion or anything else. So now I appreciate Delhi Police. They have timely contained this situation from flaring up from very small riot to another big riot, because it could have taken place like in 2020. It was a very the violence of very large scale. It was there, and so many casualties were there, and so many persons were injured, properties were damaged. Anyway, this as now I come to the point of that procession without permission. I think that there are three processions and two processions were given permission, and the last procession in which this problem occurred, it was not permitted by the police and the Deputy Commissioner of Police of the local area. But still, if it was there and the problem is stated to be erupted in that third procession. Now the police has also registered a case against the person who were responsible, who were holding this third procession, and that means that police is doing their job very fairly, irrespective of any sporting, any of the religion or anything else. So, and they have also arrested the persons. And I must tell you, there is this is a very difficult task to investigate and find out the real culprits. And the police have seen at least about more than 200 CCTV footage to find out the actual culprits who are there. And then they have identified these persons. 25 persons have been arrested in this case, and they are being thoroughly interrogated. And I am sure that they will be coming out with the persons who is main conspirator of this violence, whosoever may be any political party or any conspirator. We may be from
but Mr. Ellen Rao, all that you're saying is fine. It is happening after violence was reported, after people got injured. But all this has happened in the national capital. We just heard the BJP spokesperson here on the show, Advocate, Sanket Gupta, telling us that it was a pre-planned strategy. It means somebody probably wanted to do this, and that's why it happened. Why something like this could not be avoided? Where was the intelligence?
That may be a correct thing, that if it was a pre-planned, then there should have been intelligence reports from the special branch of Delhi police and the local police also, because local police also is having their own sources of getting information. And if it was pre-planned, then the police should have taken a note of it, and it could have been preempted and it could have been prevented if it was so. So, but that is a matter of inquiry, whether it was intelligence failure and failure of at which stage. Now, we all must, over and above any political ambitions, we must think that no public person should be suffered like this. And as Home Minister has stated, that exemplary action should be taken, exemplary punishment should be given to those persons whosoever is involved in respect of caste and creed, so that nobody else in future can think about to indulge in such type of violence, because this type of violence cannot benefit any person, as I rightly said that. And the inquiry about the intelligence failure.
But Shilpi Jain, same kind of statements we heard after the riots in 2020 as well. 2 years later, again we are talking about riots, and that too in the national capital.
As a Delhiite, I'm extremely pained. What's happened is sad and unfortunate. Delhi used to take pride in being very secular and completely untouched by all these communal streaks. But in the recent past, we see a growing intolerance. The laws are in place. It's growing at the level of WhatsApp. It's growing in social media. It's growing on the news channels. So it has to be curtailed there. Once it's overlooked there, these kind of sinister plans get encouraged and strengthened. So that is you have to go behind the scene. If it could be pre-planned in a city like Delhi, what is the criminal thinking? He's obviously not considering law as a deterrent in even the capital of the country. So once the law stops being a deterrent, we have to see the surrounding circumstances. What's the problem? The problem is that the police needs to handle these cases more swiftly, with better investigation, with more senior officers. We need to have fast-track courts for this. And whether it's on WhatsApp, whether it's on social media, any kind of communally colored statements or videos need to be a complete no. Once they are overlooked, or the powers that be are indifferent to them, these sinister plans will keep happening and they will repeat themselves. We don't have convictions for years. The people will get bail after a few days, and then it's business as usual. We debate it for a few days and it's back to normal. So it's the powers that be that need to introspect and see what is the change in the recent past. I have been a Delhiite for more than 3 decades, and close to 4 decades. And I have not seen this kind of insecurity. Now, what is happening to the common citizen? We are insecure. Obviously, if it can happen, a person armed with a pistol and, shooting bullets in a procession, what's the kind of law and order this city is witnessing? So there is a bigger debate we need to get into, which goes beyond this particular incident. And I think the powers that be, whether it's the center, whether it's the Delhi government and the Delhi police, has a lot to answer for. How was a man armed with a pistol allowed and being able to participate in a procession which was in the daytime in the heart of the city, and he could even, injure people? So what is happening to the intelligence? If these incidents, we don't go behind what is happening to the intelligence, what's happening to the social thinking of the people? The laws are in place, but I think the government and both the governments need to do a lot more than just investigating this case, because what's happening is extremely unfortunate. It's setting into setting into motion a very, very serious trend. You have to cut it at the bud immediately.
And that is the question we have also raised here on Mirror Now. Citizens are suffering as law and order seems to be breaking down. Advocate Sanket Gupta, now please respond, and then Akshay Marathe.
Law and order situation in Delhi is now, I have got the information and it is all on media, that DCP West has told that the situation is now under completely control and we must not go for any rumors and all. And as far as this incident that happened in Delhi, it is really condemned, and it was, it should not have been happened, but it happened, and the police is working very fairly, and we ensure this not to be happen again in Delhi.
It happened in 2020 also. It happened in 2022 also. So what lessons have been learned? I want to know. If this is a situation in the national capital, the place where it happened, Advocate Sanket Gupta, is less than 20 kilometers away from the parliament. And something like this can happen. We can have a procession with no permission, armed people there. I mean, what are we really heading to?
Law is doing its work. And in 2020 also, it got controlled in just 2 days. Our government is doing very fine work. Police is fairly investigating the case. Each and every CCTV
Akshay Marathe wants to come in.
Around 300 footage work. But I just want to comment on one of the statement made by Aam Aadmi Party CM, that he said it is all a responsibility of central government. How can a responsible chief minister respond like this on such a condemnable situation, that this thing happened, and Aam Aadmi Party leader is saying it's all a responsibility of the government of center. The Delhi police is doing fairly, and we must appreciate the work done by the Delhi police in this.
Okay, Akshay Marathe wants to respond to what you've said.
I have two quick responses. Number one, I think in any such situation where you see violence break out, the responsibility of any political party, political leader should be to first condemn the violence and appeal for peace. Mr. Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi, immediately issued an appeal for peace and requested both sides to hold hands together and stop the violence and proceed towards a more peaceful resolution of the situation. Mr. Amit Shah, who is the Home Minister of the country and runs the law and order situation in the country, has not issued any calls for peace, despite the fact that we have seen these incidents happen throughout the country. Isn't there a moral, social responsibility on the BJP leadership to calm the nerves of people if there is this kind of a violence breaking out across the country? Isn't there a responsibility? Number two, let me finish, Mr. Gupta. Number two, there is a situation in the country today where you have a widespread unemployment problem. Inflation is rising rapidly. There is a large number of youth who is looking towards the political leadership of the country, which is the BJP, to get cues and signals for what is acceptable behavior and what is unacceptable behavior. You see, day in and day out, the BJP is not only protecting but encouraging elements that engage in this kinds of gundaism and vandalism across the country. So when people who are on the ground, youth who don't have jobs, look at the BJP promoting the anti-social elements in society, they take their cues from that and also join these kinds of events and activities and engage in the violence. And unfortunately, they will be the ones who will go to jail. The BJP worker on the ground will be the one to go to jail, and the BJP will maybe protect them eventually and get them out on bail. But what about the disruption that all Indians are facing today as a result of the horrible, horrible political culture that the BJP is bringing to the country? This is the question that we have for the BJP today, that why have you turned into a party of goons and thugs?
I am very shocked by the statement made by the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson today on this media channel, this responsible media channel, when Tahir Hussain, who was the main corporator of Aam Aadmi Party, was alleged and is named in the FIR on the riots of the Delhi 2020, and now he is saying that BJP persons are involved in that riot. This is very funny statement. And the thing is this: how many employment you have given in Delhi in last 7 years? Just 400 employment. Just 400, and you don't have any data. You will just say that you have given the employment, but you haven't given any employment in Delhi, and now you are saying
okay, both of you calm down. You know, this is what happens. Political tutu meme begins and we forget what we are actually discussing. हरी शंकर गुप्ता, सवाल अब यही खड़ा होता है, 2020 में जब दंगे हुए थे तब भी बड़ी बड़ी स्टेटमेंट्स आई थी कि ऐसा दोबारा नहीं होना चाहिए. तब भी हम न्यू दिल्ली नेशनल कैपिटल की बात कर रहे थे, and it has repeated in the year 2022. It clearly shows that there is no fear of law here.
देखिए हिना जी, मैंने पहले भी आपसे कहा है, जब इस प्रकार की दंगों का पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज राजनीतिक लाभ लेने लगे तो उनका भी इंटरेस्ट ये रहता है कि भाई ठीक है, जो हो रहा होने दीजिए, हमें तो लाभ हो ही रहा. कांग्रेस पार्टी ने कभी इस बात को कभी माना नहीं है और कभी इस बात के लिए समर्थन नहीं किया है. दंगे हमारे समय में भी हुए हैं, ये हम नहीं कहते हैं, क्योंकि मैं मानता हूं इस देश के अंदर प्रतिदिन 2 दंगे कम्युनल राइट्स होते हैं और आज से नहीं हो रहे हैं, बरसों से हो रहे हैं. लेकिन उसको नियंत्रण करना है, उन कारणों को खोज के खत्म करना है जिसके कारण से दंगे होते हैं. दुर्भाग्य ये है कि वर्तमान सरकार जो है उसका दंगे करने वाले कहीं ना कहीं ये समझ के चलते हैं कि इस सरकार का जो हम काम कर रहे हैं उसका समर्थन हमें मिलेगा. अगर हम कल किसी मुसीबत में फंसेंगे तो वो सरकार हमें बचाएगी. हमारे दोस्त जो बीजेपी के यहाँ पर बैठे हुए हैं वो बार बार इस बात को 20 के दंगे की बात कर रहे हैं, 22 के दंगे की बात कर रहे हैं, ताहिर हुसैन की बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन यतीन नरसिंहानंद की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. अभी जेडीयू के अंदर जिन लोगों ने भगवा पोस्टर लगा दिए उनकी बात नहीं करेंगे. यही गलत है, यही फर्क है. मैंने पहले ही कहा, सरकार में जो लोग बैठे हुए हैं अगर वो लोग एक विशेष धर्म का पक्ष लेके उसकी करतूतों को पक्षपात करके उसको एक्सप्लेन करने लगेंगे तो इस बार की सिचुएशन को कभी नुकसान नहीं होगा. आज ये दंगा वहां पर हुआ है, कल भी होगा, परसों भी दंगा होगा, क्योंकि सरकार का संरक्षण जब समझ लिया जाए दंगा करने वालों के लिए तो ये चीजें रुकती नहीं है. इस पर नियंत्रण होना चाहिए. सरकार का बिल्कुल भारी भरकम नियंत्रण इसके ऊपर.
I think what you're saying is very, very important. And Mr. L.N. Rao, that's the point here. It's not the first time. In the last few days, we have seen a procession getting targeted like this. Processions are getting targeted. There's stone pelting being reported in one state after the other.
Yes, that is the situation when we go into the past, then such type of incident has taken in other states also, and that the government should have taken a clue from there that such incident can happen in Delhi. And again I am saying that Delhi is a very sensitive area, and there are so many other sensitive areas in Delhi also, not only Jahangir Puri. There are so many other Silampur, Welcome and Okhla like this, and more particularly about the walled cities. And there was no situation, the situation was under control in all these areas. But why it happened here in Jahangirpuri, that is to be seen, that is to be studied, and the real reason of this riot should be taken out during the investigation. And I am confident that the police officers, the special team created by the crime branch, who are investigating this case, they will find out the real truth of this whole incident, and whosoever is involved, they will be exposed in this during investigation. And as you rightly said that this type of statements are being stated at every time. This is the unfortunate part. Then we do not take any lesson from the past. we must take lesson, and all corrective measures should be taken so that no such incident should recur in future. Because these type of riots are creating a sense of insecurity among the citizens of Delhi, particularly, and in the mind of all Indians in general. So our political bosses and political parties, they should be concerned. They should come in together and find out the real cause of these type of riots, and find out the ways and means that these should not rehappen without, irrespective of their benefit, what is their, which party is being benefited for this thing. Because as we said that लाशों पे राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए, कभी नहीं होनी चाहिए, and this matter should be taken at a very serious level. And I think that such type of incident should not happen in Delhi particularly, and not over in any place in India.
Right. But somebody also needs to take the responsibility here. The buck really needs to stop somewhere. Shilpi Jain, as we are speaking, we are also showing to our viewers visuals from other parts of the country as well, where similar sort of incidents were reported. As I mentioned earlier, it's not the first procession which has been targeted like this. Stone pelting has been reported in other states as well, from one state after the other. Do you also see this as some, sort of a conspiracy, as many also believe?
Yeah, see, as I mentioned, there is an increase in intolerance. But having said that, I also believe that people are no longer scared of the police, of the system. So they see some kind of loopholes, some kind of weakness within the system. So even if they have, sinister plans to actually execute them, usually what prevails is fear of arrest, fear of investigation, fear of conviction. That somehow seems to have completely gone out of the minds while these incidents are happening across the country. So I think the police the accountability has to be held. Absolutely pinpoint in now in Jahangir, Puri, we as citizens of Delhi need accountability beyond these people who were arrested. Where were the loopholes in the system? How did the system fail? How many police officials have been fired or held responsible for this? Justice must not only be seen, it must be done. So we have to see that what the people who were responsible for maintaining law and order, were they held accountable? Because if they weren't, we will see a repeat of these incidents again and again. And I hold my head in shame that it's in Delhi, which I used to be very proud of. So we really need to fix responsibility and ensure that this does not repeat and this does not remain only a discussion in television studios.
Well, we also hope so that this time, at least as it is being said, that accountability will be fixed. A message has gone from the Home Minister as well that stern action will be taken against those who are responsible. We can really hope that, after this, there will be fear of law and this does not happen again. We'll, of course, be keeping you ahead on this particular story from the national capital. I would like to thank all my guests for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. We'll be tracking the story closely ahead as well with you. Heading into a very, very short break, but there's lots